So when you think of Kerala, what comes to mind? You're probably picturing something just like this. Lush backwaters, stunning beaches, God's own country. But what if I told you that this very same paradise is about to become one of the world's most strategic shipping hubs? This is the story of how ancient geography and a really unique history are combining to create a gateway to the future. Okay, let's start with that famous name. It's a phrase that has, for decades, defined Kerala on the world stage. But what does it actually mean? And more importantly, where did it really come from?
You see, this phrase is so much more than just a clever marketing slogan. It's basically an identity. It conjures up these images of untouched natural beauty, a kind of divine calm. And you have to admit, it's been incredibly successful at branding the state as a place you just have to see.
Well, the answer is way more fascinating than you might think. Is it some ancient legend, passed down through the generations? Or is it a stroke of modern marketing genius? Well, as it turns out, it's kind of both. So you've got two origins here. The phrase we all know today was made famous back in 1989 by an ad man named Walter Mendez. It was just a brilliant tourism campaign. But, and this is the really cool part, it has a much older, much deeper root. You have to go all the way back to 1749. The king of Travancore, Marthandavarma, performed a ritual where he symbolically donated his entire kingdom to the deity Padmanabha. He basically said, I'm just the deity's servant, making the land, quite literally, God's own country.
But Kerala's story isn't just about this divine connection. It's also about a deep connection to the rest of the world. For thousands of years, this place has been a global hub for trade. So let's look at how those ancient spice routes are being reborn as 21st century shipping lanes.
For centuries, Kerala was the absolute heart of the global spice trade. I mean, think about the ancient port of Muziris. It was this bustling, cosmopolitan hub where Roman ships would show up loaded with gold just to trade it for black pepper. This legacy of trade continued all the way up to 1498, when Vasco da Gama's arrival kicked off the whole European colonial era. All of it driven by the hunger for these amazing spices. And this right here really gets to the core of what we're talking about today. The very same geographic perks that made Kerala a magnet for ancient traders are now positioning it to be a massive player in modern global logistics. It's incredible when you think about it. And it all comes down to numbers like this one, 24 meters. That is the natural depth of the water at the new Vision Gem port. And the key word there is natural. This isn't man-made, it's a gift of geography. This incredible depth means it can host the world's absolute largest container ships without needing the constant, super expensive dredging that most other major ports require. And here's the kicker, its location. Visinjam is just 10 nautical miles off the main international shipping superhighway. For a giant container ship, that's nothing. It's barely a turn of the wheel. This gives it a huge leg up on competitors like Colombo. In fact, it's positioned to help India capture the whopping 75% of its own cargo that currently has to be transferred at foreign ports. But you have to ask, where does this amazing coastal geography even come from? Well, to understand that, we need to look inland to the massive mountain range that is the true engine of Kerala's entire ecosystem, the Western Ghats. These mountains are just incredible. They're a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a global biodiversity hotspot. They basically act like a giant wall, trapping all the monsoon clouds rolling in from the Arabian Sea, and that creates the massive rainfall that makes Kerala so lush. These mountains give birth to all 44 of the state's rivers and are home to Anamudi, the highest peak in South India. All of that water flowing down from the mountains creates true wonders, like the Kutanad region. This is one of the only places on Earth where farming actually happens below sea level. It's so unique and so remarkable that the UN has recognized it as a globally important agricultural heritage system. So how on earth does it work? Well, it's this brilliant piece of hydroengineering. Freshwater from 4 big rivers floods these low-lying fields. Then a massive barrier, the Thonir Mokum Barrage, closes up to block the salty seawater from getting in. This whole system lets farmers grow rice and other crops on land that would otherwise just be under the sea. But as incredible as its geography is, Kerala's greatest asset and its biggest export has always been its people. And that brings us to the story of the Kerala model. So, The Kerala model basically refers to the state's amazing success in achieving high levels of social development. We're talking literacy, healthcare, that are on par with developed countries. And this is not a new thing. The roots go way back to an 1817 royal decree that pushed for universal education, creating a highly skilled and mobile population over centuries.
And this is the result of that investment. That highly educated workforce became a global workforce. At its peak, the money sent home by Keralites working abroad, what we call remittances, made up a staggering 31% of the state's entire domestic product. It was the backbone of its modern economy.
Now, for a long time, this migration was mostly to the Gulf countries. But we're seeing a big shift now. More and more people from Kerala are moving to places like the US and the UK, often landing high-skilled jobs that lead to even higher average remittances being sent back home. But this whole economic model creates a really fascinating social paradox. So while Kerala has one of India's highest rates of female literacy, which is fantastic, its female labor force participation is actually pretty low. So why is that? Well, often the financial security that comes from those remittances allows highly educated women to pursue even more education or to simply choose not to enter the local workforce. So what happens when you pull all of these different threads together? The geography, the history, the people. Well, what you get is a 21st century renaissance, where the state's oldest assets are literally becoming the blueprint for its future. First up, you have the legacy of the spice trade. The exact same coastline that once welcomed Roman galleons is now getting ready to welcome the largest container ships on the planet. It's just continuing a story of global connection that's thousands of years old. Then there's the power of water. Born in the Western Ghats, it's still the lifeblood of the state, powering its unique below-sea-level farms and creating the very coastal geography that makes a port like this possible in the first place. And, of course, the strength of its people. This is a direct product of centuries of investing in education, which created a global diaspora whose financial power is now fueling the state's biggest ambitions. And all of these powerful elements, the geography, the history, the people, they all come together at one single point, the new Vision Jump Port. It's so much more than just concrete and steel. It's the physical embodiment of Kerala's entire story. Which really leaves us with one final thought. In an age of constant change, of constant disruption, Kerala is showing us that sometimes the most powerful blueprint for the future can be found in a region's oldest and most enduring assets.